Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. This is the 35th year anniversary of my first international visit outside the United States. The first flight I took from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania with the DuPont company as a 27-year-old chemical engineer to Seoul, South Korea. I arrived on a Saturday night. It was a cold January evening. There was starting to snow. It snowed all through the evening. I stayed at the Lotte Hotel, fairly famous in downtown Seoul. It was an experience of a lifetime. I spent the next day walking all over Seoul. I walked through Namdaemun Market, which blew my mind in terms of places I'd never seen ever before, and walked literally all day, from about 10 in the morning until about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, with really cold, and climbs a Namsam market, Namsam mountain, and the tower there, and just really kind of changed my life. And so part of the reason why we're focusing in on South Korea today is the amazing progress of the country. And we're going to be talking with two experts who know all about South Korea and all its cities. Both of them happen to be from Busan, which happened to be also the city where I started my visit. After Seoul, I stayed one day with DuPont Korea in Seoul, and then we flew down to Busan and started about a 10-day trip all across South Korea. So Jeong Hibbitts is the Global Chamber Executive Director for us in Baltimore, Washington. She's doing a great job in growing the chapter. She recently was the recipient of an award with Global Chamber for the best advisory board. She also has a very active chapter. I mentioned she is from Busan, South Korea originally. She does work with her company, Robert and William LLC, between South Korea and the US, in addition to the work she does with Global Chamber. So Jeong, we're going to start with you. I believe you're going to kick off with a conversation about doing business in Busan, South Korea, and then we're going to have Yukyeong fill in some additional information on the other cities, and then please come back and let's both of you wrap that piece up, and then we're going to go around the room and listen to some other experts and their perspectives. The goal here is to have information shared for executives who are thinking about doing business in South Korea or are already doing business there, give them tips and techniques and other ideas to be as successful as they can in a very growing and exciting country. So Jeong, I turn it over to you. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Doug, for today, this opportunity to speak about Busan and a lot of different areas beyond Busan in South Korea. South Korea is, my home country, and then Busan, as you mentioned, I'm a native. I don't know, living in there for 2 years make me like a native to, the Busan, but I moved to Seoul, but since then visited Busan so many times because of business or either leisure or the tour or the things like that. So I'm very happy to share about the capabilities and those potentials of Busan for international business community. So I can share my screen here. Let me just share my screen. Very moment. All right, here we go. So again, good morning and good afternoon and good evening for everyone attending this event on Busan and beyond in South Korea. As a Busan native, it is my really pleasure to have an opportunity to speak about this dynamic city in South Korea. Hope I can give you some good insight of this city so that you can consider doing businesses in Busan or the work with the companies located in Busan city. So before going into Busan, as this Globinar will cover major other areas in South Korea beyond Busan, I will first briefly touch upon South Korea's general economic and trade environment. South Korea is number 10 in the world in terms of GDP, with $1.63 trillion in 2020. In the same year, the trade volume was $980 billion. That puts South Korea the number 9th in the world. There are 2,268 companies that are listed on the Korea Stock Exchange. And just last year, South Korea ranked number 1 as the most innovative country in Asia, based on the Bloomberg Innovation Index, followed by Singapore and Switzerland. And among many other things, South Korea is really well known for its best digital infrastructure. ICT, information and communication technology, penetration rate is 84.8% in 2020. So that means this country is ubiquitously connected everywhere, both in urban and rural areas. So thanks to this very advanced information and communication technology, South Korea's e-commerce is booming. In 2020, the value of the e-commerce sales in South Korea, it amounted to $109.5 billion. South Korea has become one of the biggest e-commerce marketplaces worldwide. Now, let's focus on Busan. Busan is the second largest city and largest seaport in South Korea. As you can see in the map, it is located at the southeast tip of the South Korean peninsula, and it is considered as a gateway to the Eurasian continent connected with the world. The city covers about 770 square kilometers and is a home to 3.4 million people. In comparison to Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea, which will be presented by Yukyeong later on, it is larger in size than Seoul, but density is less than Seoul, as Seoul is 605 square kilometers and has about 10 million people. So it has 3 times more, I would say, Busan's population in Seoul. Many companies are headquartered or have offices in Busan. There are about 290,000 companies employing over 1.4 million employees in this area. Busan is a very, very active trading city. Here it shows the latest export and import figure in November of last year, very recent data. Export was about $1.4 billion, whereas import is kind of similar. It was also $1.4 billion, so it's pretty balanced. Then let's take a look at Busan's economy more closely. Because of its location, it has grown into a mecca of maritime logistics with world-class super ports. Busan port processes 75% of container cargoes that enter in and out of South Korea, and it trades with about 600 ports in 150 countries around the world. It is world's 5th largest container ports and the 2nd transship ports, and also 2nd top shipping lines service of the world. The volume of the cargo containers passing through Busan port steadily increase each year, making Busan the busiest transshipment port in Northeast Asia, accounting for more than half of containers passing through Busan port. Companies in Busan. Some well-known South Korean companies are located in Busan. Hyundai Global Service provides smart ship solutions and green energy solution. Of course, shipping-related companies such as container shipping company, SM Line, and shipbuilding and construction company, Hanjin Heavy Industries and Construction Group are all there in Busan. Also, as a car manufacturer, Renault Samsung Motors, also known by its initial RSM, is headquartered in Busan. Busan also attracts significant foreign investment. There are 746 foreign invested companies with a focus in manufacturing as the leading field for their investment, followed by distribution, logistics, and service. Besides shipping and logistics and manufacturing, the MICE, I don't know, you pronounce it MICE, but MICE industry is one of Busan's strategic growth industry. MIC stands for meetings, incentive, conferences, exhibitions. Busan strives to become the MICE hub city of Asia. Busan has proven to be one of the best convention cities in the world, as it has hosted 239 international conferences as of 2019. That included APEC, Economic Leaders Meeting in 2005. But perhaps one of the best known event might be the Busan International Film Festival. As the most influential film festival in Asia, it attracts many visitors and tourists from all over the world to Busan every year. Here, one interesting upcoming event that I like to highlight, even though it is a little bit far away, is World Expo 2030. So World Expo is the world's biggest event where nations from all over the world gather together to showcase their innovations and products and pride and so on. It is currently being hosted by Dubai, as you know, in UAE, but in 2030, it will be in Busan. In conjunction with MICE industry, I want to mention Busan is a very popular city for tourism. It has world-class beaches, fresh seafood, fun places for leisure activities, as well as nature reserves with the very beautiful traditional Korean temples. One interesting cultural element I want to mention is Busan dialect. Even though Korea is a very small country in size, there are several distinctive dialects in South Korea. And Busan dialects called Saturi is very easily noticed. However, it is not used in business setting though. So for those interested in knowing more about Busan and business and connecting, of course, Global Chamber is a great resource for connecting with key persons and organizations in Busan. But here are some more information for those who that can help. So this presentation and names of this organization and website will be shared later. So I hope you will find it useful. So thank you very much. 감사합니다. And I'm looking forward to answering some of the questions later on. And then Yukyeong will take it from here and cover many other major areas in South Korea.
감사합니다. Yukyeong, you're next. Yukyeong is a graduate of Busan National University. And she is a supply chain expert. She's been helping Global Chamber in putting together some logistics programs and young global leader programs and a variety of other activities. And this is one of the things that she's been involved with. Yukyeong, please take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Well, hi everyone, and thank you, Jeong, for introducing Busan, where I live in now. So today I will add more cities of Korea. So hi everyone again. Well, I will introduce 7 more cities of Korea. And let's start with Ulsan, which is very close to Busan. It takes only an hour by car from Busan. There are more than 1 million people living in here, and its amount of production is more than $60 billion, which is higher than any other cities in Korea, which has similar population. Actually, Ulsan is the largest industry city in Korea, and Korean people just call it City of Hyundai. Hyundai Motors has its plant in Ulsan, where produce 1.41 million cars annually. So Ulsan is world's top 5 largest automobile city. Also, Hyundai Heavy Industries is located in Ulsan and takes up more than 30% of shipbuilding output of Korea. Ulsan also has almost 30% of petrochemical output in Korea. Ulsan Port is world's 4th largest liquid cargo handling terminal. And the fun fact of Ulsan is it's popular site for watching large gray whales. So you can visit whale museums and try whale meat. Ulsan has great labor and employment environment. It has lowest average age in Korea with higher labor productivity compared to any other cities in Korea. Also, Ulsan continuously strives to strengthen innovation R&D capability of the region by cooperating with research institutes and major universities of Korea. Our next stop is Daegu. It takes an hour and a half from Ulsan by car, and it takes less than 2 hours from Seoul by train. Well, Busan and Ulsan is located along the coastline, but Daegu is inland city with population more than 2,400,000 people. Top industries are textile and machine parts manufacturing, and Daegu is nearby Korea's largest industry cities, such as Ulsan, Pohang, where supplying 31 million tons of steel annually, and Gumi, where Samsung produces more than 120 million mobile phones annually. Since it's surrounded by mountains, it has nickname of Daefrica, Daegu plus Africa. Because it's popular for hot summer, and you can visit traditional Korean market where you can try 10 best dishes of Korea, include grilled Int'l. Well, there are top 5 new growth engine industry of Daegu, include medical, water, automobile, robot, and renewable energy industry. Before COVID, number of medical tourists visiting Daegu surpassed 20,000. There's one fun fact of Daegu that it is the first city who tried driving through COVID test. Also, Daegu is committed to becoming a global hub for the water industry with Korea Water Cluster and Korea Institute for Water Technology certification. Now we are heading to Gwangju. It takes an hour and a half from Seoul by train. So far, Daegu, Ulsan, and Busan is located on the southeast side of Korea, but Gwangju is located on the west side of Korea. The top industries is smart home appliance, especially air home appliances. And when Korean people think of Gwangju, it reminds democratic protest of 1980s. So it's a city of human rights and peace. Also, Gwangju Global Motors is first labor management coexistence model. More about culture, there are many popular artists in Gwangju. And this area, southwestern of South Korea, is mainly composed of plains, so it has advantage of rice production. So many people visit this area to taste local food. Gwangju has established its Korea's first AI-based integrated complex. And compared to Seoul metropolitan area, it's really affordable. In total, there are 13 industrial complexes include future mobility, smart energy, and AI convergence. And those complexes are close to central business district. Our next stop is Daejeon. It takes less than an hour from Seoul by train. Daejeon has its consumer sentiment index is 104.3, which is higher than Korean average. Daejeon is science hub of Korea basic science. There is an industrial cluster called Innopolis Daegu, where Center of Technological Innovation, and it is specialized in IT, biomedical, and so on. Also, Daejeon is hub for transportation. You can access to major cities of Korea within 90 minutes from Daejeon, and Korean logistic companies are started to build large-scale high-tech logistics center in Daejeon. About tourism, it's interesting because this bakery called Seongsimdang is the most popular tourist place and most famous local brand of Daejeon. So Daejeon has the largest R&D center in Korea. 30 government-funded research institutes include Korea Research Institute of Standards and Science, and it takes up more than 15% of total Korea's R&D investment. Also, Daejeon has developed as multifunctional administrative city with 42 agencies and 15 government-funded agencies where offer quick corporate welfare services. Now, it's Int'l. It's really close to Seoul, so you can take transportation. Like, for example, if you take subway, it takes an hour and a half from Seoul. In Incheon, there are more than almost 3 million people living here, and its amount of production is $75 billion. Incheon is gateway city to Korea. It's only 28 kilometers away from Seoul, and it has international airport, which has been world's best airport for 12 years. And Songdo International Business District has 15 international organizations, such as Global Climate Fund, and a global campus is a shared campus with prestigious universities around the world. Also, you can visit new retro area of near Incheon's open port. Because of its outstanding location, Incheon has great transport network. Thanks to world's best airport and Incheon Port Terminal and Incheon New Port, both passengers and cargo can move quickly and fastly, safely to anywhere around the world. Incheon Free Economic Zone has 3 districts in Incheon. First, Songdo, global hub for high-tech, Yeongjongdo, where supports aviation, logistics, and tourism. And the last one, Cheongla, is a new business town of Incheon. Now, it's Suwon. Like Incheon, it is also close to Seoul, where you can take subway from Seoul, and it takes only an hour and a half. Well, Suwon is part of Gyeonggi-do. Gyeonggi-do is the largest local government of Korea. It has 31 cities with more than 13 million population. Gyeonggi-do has the highest economically active population, highest number of factories, and highest international trade volume. And Suwon is the biggest city in Gyeonggi-do by its population, and headquarters of Samsung Electronics is located in Samsung Digital City. Also, you can visit Suwon Hwasong Fortress, which was built 200 years ago, and it is UNESCO World Heritage. You can also try chicken, Korean chicken at Chicken Street. Now, Korea accounted for about 60% of global memory semiconductor market. And Korean semiconductor companies such as Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix are clustered in Gyeonggi area. Also, they are planning to construct more factories in this area. Our last stop, Seoul. Even though Busan and Seoul is located opposite on the map, it takes only 2 hours and 20 minutes by train. In Seoul, its population is almost 10 million. Actually, more than half of Korean population are living in Incheon, Seoul, and Gyeonggi-do. As you already know, Seoul is capital city of Korea, and it's also mega city with a population almost 10 million people. And it takes up more than 20% of Korea's total GDP, with 50% of financial related industries accumulated. And Seoul was ranked as 8th Global Power City Index by its economy, research and development, cultural interaction, livability, environment, and accessibility. Seoul is attractive business environment. Seoul is within 2 hours travel from Beijing, Shanghai, Tokyo, Osaka, and any other cities of East Asia. Seoul is also city of top talent. It ranked as number 3 in the world and best student city in Asia. Also, there are many business opportunities in Seoul. Korea is the best IT infrastructure of the world, and Seoul ranked as best international meeting destination for 7 years. And the size of Korean cultural content market is around $60 billion, ranking 7th in the world. And most of content support organizations are based on Seoul. Next is business tips of Korea. It's changed a lot, but still Korea's highly hierarchical culture. So age and title matters a lot. So please be note to use proper title and prepare to be polite, especially to senior people. And about greetings, when main actress from Captain Marvel visited Korea, Korea fans were really impressed because she knew how to bow in Korea. It's unique and different from Japan and China. Last, about dining, there are some restaurants where you need to take off your shoes. So please don't be embarrassed. And if you want to talk about your business, please just wait until your host brings it up. And when you're drinking, you need to turn your face into side, especially when the senior people is in front of you. So here's the summary of this presentation, and you can also check trade promotion organizations of Korea and of each region. So today we covered 8 cities of Korea in total. I know it's quite a lot, so thank you so much for listening.
What an amazing journey. Mi-jeong, would you like to add anything or make any additional comments before we open up the floor?
Oh no, I think Yukyeong did just a superb job, the covering many major cities. And I guess Mr. Choi from Daejeon Technopark, if he can add some more to Daejeon, because that's where he is, would be great. But overall, I think it was just excellent, overviews and details of the business environment in each cities.
Sounds good. Mr. Choi, would you like to add to Daejeon, please?
I think Yukyeong did a good job, and there was no more the additional comments. But as Yukyeong said, Daejeon is located in the middle of the South Korea, so we have a lot of opportunities to connect it with the other city. And Daejeon companies, they are very popular for the IT technology. So if you guys have any question about IT or biotechnology or robotics, so please ask me or please contact me. I will share all information for you guys. Thank you for your presentation, Yukyeong.
It was very good. And Yukyeong, you said something about South Korea or Seoul being the #1 IT something. What was that? What is South Korea #1 at on the technology side?
Well, Korea has the fastest speed of internet.
Okay.
Yeah, those kind of things like 5G and internet speed.
Okay. So 5G is already implemented in Seoul.
Yeah, and not just in Seoul, most cities of Korea.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we have Mr. Moon from Korea Innovation Center. Mr. Moon, are you there? And would you like to add anything or make any comments about some of the things that you heard today or anything you'd like to add? And I see him here, but you're on mute. So if you're looking to speak, let us know, and we're happy to have you say a few words. I'd also like to reach out to a couple additional people in the audience. Jay, I thought I saw you here. Let's see. Jay Biggs works for the U.S. Foreign
Yes.
Service. Hey there, Jay. How are you? You recently moved from the U.S. government from Osaka, I believe, to Seoul. How is it going so far? What have been your impressions?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, like Doug said, I'm with U.S. Commercial Service, so I'm based here in the U.S. Embassy in Seoul, and our job is to help small and medium-sized companies find partners in Korea. And my experience so far, I've been here since August, so I'm relatively newcomer to this. But things that really stood out to me about Korea is the depth of the relationship between U.S. and Americans and Koreans. How many Korean Americans there are here in Korea? How many Koreans have studied or spent a large amount of time in the U.S.? That has a lot of benefits in terms of Koreans being able to really understand how we do business. And the other thing that I've found that's been very interesting is the degree to which Koreans are very much problem solving, oriented towards problem solving. In other cultures, sometimes when you ask a complex question, you have a complex problem, the typical answer is, "Oh yeah, sorry, we can't do that." I found that Koreans go to great lengths, even not only senior business executives, but even people, even shopkeepers will go to great lengths to figure out a solution to the problem, even when it's not obvious. So I think that bodes very well for U.S. companies that are interested in doing business in Korea. So those are kind of my 2 cents worth on doing business in Korea. If you ever need any help, we'd be glad to support you or any of your member companies, Doug.
Fantastic. Thank you for adding to the conversation. I'd like to now go to Dr. Peter Wonsak Yun. Dr. Yun was at one time the head of KOTRA in Los Angeles. He's had a long career, over 30 years with KOTRA. He's subsequently retired, and I think he may be the most connected business person in South Korea, to not just within the country, but around the world. Dr. Yun, thank you for joining us today. We're very honored to have you with us. Would you like to add any comments regarding doing business in South Korea? Anything that you've heard or anything you'd like to add? Are you available to speak? Dr. Yun, are you there? Oh, we might have lost him.
Looks like his audio is
can you hear me?
working.
Oh,
yeah.
there we go. Yes, now we
okay.
can.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you, Doc, for kind introductions, and thank you so much for very good presentation from the Jeong and Yukyeong about several the metropolitans economic and business opportunities. And as Doc explained, already about myself. I served almost 33 years with the Kotra. So especially I served 3 times in the North America, 2 times to United States, 1 times to Canada. So Doc, if you don't mind, may I share my slide a little bit to brief?
Absolutely. Please go ahead. You should be able to.
Okay. So can you see?
We can.
No?
You might need to turn it on presentation mode because it's a partial view.
Okay, let me try again.
Okay.
Can you see now? No?
It didn't change.
Oh my God. Okay, so just to verbally, so today I'm trying to, give you some introduction
there it
about myself. Can
now,
you see?
now it looks good, I think. Although it's partially cut off, I think. Here we go.
Okay,
looks-
so I just choose that name, from the doing business in Korea rather than, so this is the myself. I'm used to working for the Kotra at the bottom, almost 33 years, and at my last position to the Los Angeles Kotra office, and that times I met Doug, and Doug realized that what we are doing. So we are very similar to U.S. Commercial Service. Jay explained what he's doing. So Kotra is, national arms for the promote trade and investment. So whenever we have some inquiry from the buyers or investors, and we try to help them to identify opportunities and arrange business meetings and make some deals. Like as a result, you can export or import, or you can get the investment into inbound and outbound. After that, I served 1 year at the universities, and then Hong Kong Group, which is that medium-sized ICT specialized company. I was in charge of the global business. So for the 16 subsidiaries, and focus on the mostly fourth industrial revolution areas. So I made several deals with US companies such as the AWS to deliver our Hong Kong office package to the DAS systems, and also trying to make several the technology cooperation with the Qualcomm for the smart city project. So there are huge, the opportunities in new industry areas between Korea and the United States. Now I'm in charge of my own company, trying to provide some consulting services. So I think Kotra has that 127 offices overall. So in the North America, they have 9 offices in major cities. So wherever you are located, you can access not only to your US commercial service office, but also you can contact also Kotra office. At the headquarters, they have a lot of the resources, and nationwide, they have 17 domestic branch offices, all the network. Then, so you can ask whatever you want to do business with Korea. So the Korean economy, at the right-hand side, last year we ranked the 10th largest economic power. It comes $1.8 trillion the GDP growth, and this is the 3rd straight years as a top 10 the largest economy in the world. And Korea is heavily rely on the the export import. So our the portion of the trade for the national GDP comes to 70%. 70% is huge, right? So we exported like $644 billion last year, and also imported like $612 billion. So there are a lot of the trade business opportunities across the US, Korea, and other countries. And this is some the brief of the economic policy from the ministry for the 2022. So we are going to heavily invest in the new industrial areas. So you can review some press release. I can share this whole slide later on. So today I want to focus on the new transformation, the economic policy. It is called the New Deal, Korean style New Deal. You remember that the US New Deal, back to overcome the World War II in the United States. So to overcome the current post-pandemic situation, the government trying to focus on to become a first mover rather than a follower. And also we declared that the 40% 2030 LDC by the for the low carbon. And also we trying to focus on the inclusive society. So as Yukyeong explained, so we are very advanced ICT infrastructure. By utilizing this ICT infrastructures, we are going to add on a lot of the new industrial solutions and the applications. And also we're trying to focus on the green industries to accomplish our goal by the 2030. At the same time, we focus on some safety networks. So Korea is well known as that COVID treatments in the world. So this kind of the safety network is very important for the future. So there is other opportunities in this areas. So finally, this is some diagram. I'm sorry, this is not in English, in Korean, but we have 17 metropolitan areas. So each metropolitan has the focus on the New Deal projects in terms of the digital and green and also safety network. So each, the provincial governments are going to invest a lot of the, government budgets to promote its industries, and they are trying to provide a lot of the opportunities for the foreign companies, which has that new technology can be applicable in this sector. So I think, whatever you want to, doing business with Korea in business, and you can focus on these sectors. So thank you so much, Doc, for giving me a chance to present this kind of campus is going to expand the network, right? So I think this is a very initial step to set up some the local presence for the future. So I wish for me to become a member of the global chambers, maybe as a chapter here, then I will try to do my best. So thank you so much, listening.
We really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Dr. Yun. We've got a little bit more time, and I do want to open it up for questions. I see two more people I just wanted to go to quickly. I see Kelly from Kupang. Kelly, I don't know if you're available to speak, but Kupang is really the Amazon of South Korea. There's a lot of activity right now in that market segment with COVID, e-commerce, digital transformation. Kelly, are you available to speak? And please feel free to if you have time.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I have to drop off the call in maybe like 5 minutes, but I can, yeah, it's just firstly, lovely to hear from all of you. And it's, yeah, thanks, Doug, for inviting me as, yeah, I learned a lot of new things in this 45 minutes, actually. Yeah, so I'm the marketing manager here at Kupang Global Marketplace, and so we deal with the rest of the world, so that's excluding China, and our area focuses on onboarding new sellers from overseas who are interested in selling into Korea. And there are definitely a lot of exciting new things happening. Korea is, as mentioned earlier, one of the fastest growing e-commerce markets globally, and it is currently one of the biggest e-commerce markets as well. And in Korea, because of, as mentioned previously, because of how tech savvy the average consumer is, it's a great market for e-commerce, and it's a great market for anyone who is interested in selling online. So here at Coupang, on our platform, we are the #1 retail mobile app in Korea. And in Korea, over half of the online purchases take place on mobile. So 67% of the purchases take place on mobile, which is one of the highest in the world. And it's a good indicator as well for e-commerce in general, because if people are shopping, as they move around, it definitely is a good sign, as it means you don't just have to be in front of a computer. So it shows that there is a positive upward trend for Korean consumers, as well as consumer stickiness. In Korea, there are, as a very sort of trend sensitive country, it's definitely a market where for our global sellers, there is always sort of a new trend in the market and a new opportunity for global sellers to be sort of selling a new hot item. From Coupang's side, we try to assist our global sellers by keeping them briefed on the consumer habits of Koreans and what they are currently searching for online. Last year, the COSIS data showed that online sales for Koreans purchasing goods from overseas has been the highest in 2021. So that trend continues to show an uptick. And I think as the pandemic, with a lot of fatigue from obviously consumers who are interested in, who are unable to travel but want to maybe get sort of some vicarious satisfaction through that. We're seeing at Coupang definitely, a strong upward trend for consumers who want to purchase goods internationally. So definitely all the indicators are showing that this is a promising area and will continue to be so in 2022.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing. And I thought that was an important story to kind of pull things together, because when I started this conversation at the beginning, I mentioned about 35 years ago coming to Korea. I very vividly remember in Busan Airport a billboard that had no words, but I could tell what it meant. It basically said, don't buy imported products. When you buy products, your money flies overseas. That was the message that was clear. And as an American, it was such a shock to see that. I'd never ever thought of that before, that buying a product could potentially have your dollars fly overseas, the import-export concept. And so I think that's an important message, because Kelly, something you said the other day when we were talking about kind of our next round of collaboration, you said there are certain market segments, certain products where foreign products are preferred. And so I think that really kind of goes to the progress that Korea has made, where 35 years ago, importing was very much not encouraged. And now the country has progressed far enough where importing is very doable and very possible. And that's because of a lot of hard work that's already been talked about. Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to go to Steve. Kim, if you're available. Steve, are you there with NGL Transportation? One of my favorite people anywhere. I just love the work that you're doing and all the things that you do here in the United States with transportation. Do you have any additional comments that you'd like to make?
Well, thanks for having me here. Hi, I'm Steve. I'm on Layla a little bit today, so I just listened as part of some of the presentations from Can everybody hear me?
We can. Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Oh yeah, so right now, because we are doing our business in transportation side, we based in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's where we are started from. But we do have terminals and yard and warehouses in different areas in the United States. So we do nationwide service, and we have a Korean office as well for our e-commerce business as well. So when I'm looking at some other trading in Korea, and I see that Korea is expanding, and I see the market is expanding, and since one of the top e-commerce market, a lot of moving pieces over there. But one thing that I know and I see that it's getting more important is logistics costs for the e-commerce. So that's why we currently have a lot of, as everyone knows, that the supply chain issues are one of a big hot potato in the United States and over the world. And so we literally just maybe twice a day, we got some kind of inquiry for e-commerce fulfillment and storage or container moving and those kind of needs, very urgent needs usually. So what I see in this presentation in Korea, I think is what we can do on this team, and anyone who needs logistics side, maybe it's great time to think about the logistics cost first, because I see that the cost is increasing very fast and still keep increasing, and I see that all the money goes out to the logistic cost for the e-commerce especially. So if you need any kind of information or anything for logistics cost or any consultation, I can be a good resource. And we also looking for some partners we can work on e-commerce from Korea or to Korea. So we actually working with some vendors to help them for their e-commerce channel marketing and also storage and logistics as well. And we can help for not only in the US, but also in Korea too. So I think it's maybe I'm here not for the sales and marketing, but for anyone who needs help for logistics, I can be a good resource for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And I see Mr. Lee, are you available from Korea Innovation Center? Are you available now to speak? You'll just need to unmute if you're available. But either way, we really appreciate working with Korea Innovation Center, which has offices in Washington, D.C. and also in Silicon Valley. I believe there's roughly 200 companies that are landing in the United States and growing around the world that the Korea Innovation Center supports. And so we appreciate your collaboration and support. Let's open it up for other questions or thoughts. Please go ahead, anyone, just unmute yourself and feel free to either add a comment or add a question, please. Does anybody have any?
Doug, I have a couple, if I may.
You have a couple questions. Go ahead.
Well, a couple of comments. The first, I noted Daegu was very active in water. Korea is credited with being the creator of nanobubbles, which is an aeration technique that is recognized as the leading way to aerate water, but there's very little application of it yet in the world. I'm currently working with a group that has a competitive technology that bypasses some of the problems that Korea has. You live near the water cluster that Arizona has created for water development. And noting Daegu has risen in water, it seemed to me that there's some synergies there that could be pursued both by me and by you.
Okay.
Relative to what Ms. Yang had talked about with respect to Daegu.
Okay, well, let's see if we can get Daegu. We'll circle back with Yukyeong and find a connection for you relative to Daegu and the water side of it. Absolutely.
And then a second thing, Jay Biggs talked about business and the commonality between US companies and Korean companies. When I started working in Korea, we always talked that there were three forms of Korean company. There was the Japanese model, there was the Korean model, and there was the American model. Over the 30 some odd years from the time I had my first trip to Korea to today, both the American model in America and the American model in Korea have changed. Today, I think Jay Biggs is very much right. There's a lot more synergy that's possible with American companies and Korean companies working together than there was 20, 30 years ago during the time of the Park administration, when the country was really trying to figure what was its future going to be and how was it going to move to both democracy and to a global presence in worldwide business. And
Okay.
so
And
I just wanted to reinforce that
differences?
comment.
Is your question about the difference in business structures?
Well, my question really today is more, how can you actually get people in the States to realize that the commonality more than they do? Because while everybody will buy a Samsung phone or a Hyundai automobile, they don't necessarily realize that there's a lot more synergies in business than there are with a lot of other countries.
Okay, a good question. I don't know. I see Catherine Jeong on the line as well, and I thought you were headed to more of a business kind of a concept and construction of company structure, things like that. Catherine, if you'd like to answer, I'll just open up the floor to anybody who'd like to answer that question. This commonalities between South Korea and the US. Anybody like to comment on that?
Hi, my name is Catherine Jeong. I'm an attorney in Phoenix, Arizona, where is headquarters of a global chamber, and I'm lucky enough to be here. And I've learned so much today with all the presentations. One thing I would like to emphasize is Phoenix, city of Phoenix, as Doug, you are aware of that, become a sister city with Suwon on October 28th, 2021, just 3 months ago. So I was there with two mayors, one mayor from city of Suwon and also city of Phoenix, signed a sister city agreement on October 28th. That was very exciting. And it seems the city of Phoenix is closer, Arizona is closer to South Korea right now. Yeah. So if not for the COVID-19, I believe the signing session would have brought at least 100 businessmen from Suwon to Phoenix. But because of COVID-19, all the restrictions, city for Suwon delegate couldn't bring that. Because I'm a board member for Arizona Korean Association, so I was in the party, in the event, and we sat down with the city of Suwon, all the delegates, including mayor, vice mayor, all the parliament members, and businessmen or teams. There are 16 people came, supposed to be 160, but 16 people came. So we had a very, very good meeting, constructive conversation. And still, city of Phoenix is going to organize a team to go to delegate to Suwon. I believe original plan would be March. So now all kind of COVID have made so many things hard to predict. We don't know. And South Korea has one of the quite strict quarantine requirements. So we don't know how it will happen, but I hope it happens. It's supposed to be happen in 2020. It's delayed 1 year. We're glad we had a October meeting, October signing event. I hope if it, I'm so sure city of Phoenix and Arizona, because I'm in Arizona, I want a little bit advertise about Arizona. will be having very, very close tie with South Korea. So it was, for me, it's been very exciting 45, 50 minutes to hear all this news and about South Korea. I studied in South Korea for 8 years, so I speak, read and write Korean like a Korean native. I'm ethnically I'm Korean, although I was born in another country. So anyway, for the similarity, for your question, I might not have so many insight, but I know although I saw one of the presentations talked about courtesy, elderly respect, all those cultural sensitive elements, including drinking water turnover, but the whole business idea or the understanding of the political system and also the business environment are very similar. Although it appears very different because we bow, we sometimes wear traditional Korean clothes, and we talk about a lot of elderly respect, age hierarchy. But when you do business, you will be comfortably find very business oriented and also very problem solving oriented. I think I mentioned by Chris, right? Am I referring right person? So I hope through this global chamber events and connections, there are more business ties or business collaborations between all among global chamber members. And I'm in Arizona. I have a law firm, so I can facilitate with immigration visa issues and also business connections through global chamber. I've seen everybody here speaks very good English, but I know there are many businesses in South Korea. Although they speak English, Korean is one of the countries in the world that have a highest education level, but you may need an attorney or consultant or all kinds of resources to help you facilitate you. So if you have needs to Arizona, to Phoenix, or for immigration is entire US, please reach out to me, to Doug, Global Chamber. This is a very resourceful platform, and I'm happy to be a member for several years. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. And if you want to learn about U.S. hockey, Catherine is also.
I used to. I have many people, friends in hockey world. It's a really weird combination, but it is.
Well, then I'll give you a clue as to where I am, Catherine.
Okay.
Go Bolts.
Where? Go Bolts?
Go Bolts.
Go Bolts is which team? I don't know.
That's Tampa.
Canada.
No, Tampa.
Okay, Tampa. Okay, Tampa is also another weird team. You know, it's so hot over there.
It's very hot, but it's been a very good hockey team.
It's Arizona. We have a lot of issues. I'm really heartache for Coyotes, and my office is now just road from the Coyotes presumptively new arena. I hope they are moving. If they move, I will buy season ticket. But I think there are a lot of issues regarding airspace restrictions, you know, so, but I'm hockey fan.
Okay. Well, if you ever come here, we'll see if we can get you a ticket to a Bolts game. So you can see what hockey looks like with palm trees around the arena.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much, James. Thank you, James. I would write down. Because someone offered me free ticket.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you both. We're going to need to wrap up, and the way I'd like to wrap up is to turn it back over to Yukyeong and Jeong, so they can make any additional comments and wrap things up. Jeong, would you like to go, please?
Yeah, so briefly, thank you very much for everyone attending today, and I think it comprehensively well cover all the areas of South Korea. But just one thing to mention about the James, asking this closeness and together between US and South Korea. I recently had a chance to attend AUSA in Washington, DC. That is Army USA, as you know well, is the biggest exhibit, annual exhibit, attracted very, very large the attendance from all over the world. When I was actually helping this Korean the booth there, it was just incredible how many the American businessmen and even military folks really stopped by and then talking about their experiences back in Korea and how fondly they remember and then really continue to have this type of a relationship, moving forward. And some of them come and talk to me and then say 함께 갑시다. That means let's go together. And let's go together. 함께 갑시다 is really well-known slogan created by South Korean government. But you can actually see that type of a feeling in the business side or military side between the US and South Korea. So I hope many companies in the US explore this, the great opportunities with the South Korea, and also South Korea will be able to attract more, the foreign investment to South Korea for the, the mutual prosperity. So thank you very much.
One quick question, Jeong. You mentioned about the US, South Korea. What's your perspective on European countries in South Korea? And is there the same kind of alignment, in terms of that type of understanding?
I would say there is a very amicable relationship with the European as well. But I would say, though, US and South Korea relationship is special in a way. As you know, US fought in during the South Korean War. This is the kind of a relationship where you actually share the blood type of a thing. So some of the old folks and, the higher executive levels, or they got, the educations from the United States, as it was Jay, I guess, that he mentioned. There is a lot of more stronger, I think, the emotional, really, the ties between those two countries than I would say Europeans and the South Korean company. Europe and South Korea is a great relationship, trade, agreements there, and the good trading partners. But I think there's a much more stronger emotional type of those attachment between US and South Korea. As you can see, people come by the South Korean the booth and then say, let's go together, 함께 갑시다, right? So
outstanding. Yukyeong, did you want to make any final comments, please?
Yeah, first, thank you, Doc, for this amazing event. And by preparing this event, I discovered a lot of new things and new industries of Korea. So it was a great chance for me to learn more about my country. And I hope it was also a great opportunity for everyone here to have more insights and more interest to Korea.
Fantastic. You did a great job. Your information was outstanding. And Jeong always does that. So Jeong, thank you for everything and pulling all of this together. Thanks everybody for attending today. Really appreciate it. If you have trouble connecting with anybody here in the room, please let us know. And we're happy to connect you. info@globalchamber.org. And probably most of you know, my own email address, doug@globalchamber.org. We're going to be happy to help. Let's continue to go together between South Korea and the world. I personally also have the same kind of very positive experience. I've told others that, whenever I'd go to South Korea, especially when I was living in Japan, I was always pumped constantly. What are the Japanese doing? How can we get better? The dedication to improvement that I've seen over the last 30, 35 years has been just so impressive to me. I wished Americans, during that period of time would have done the same kind of activity, because what we've seen in South Korea is just an amazing improvement in the country, and all of the things you've heard about today are the result of intelligence and really a lot of hard work and a lot of asking questions. And I think ultimately it is part of the alignment between America and South Korea, and Americans and South Koreans, that we are hardworking, all of us together, and there is an alignment between what happened in the war and well beyond. And so let's continue to grow that. Again, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your evening. Good night and good day in South Korea.
Bye-bye.